This podcast is for people who know that the workplace can and should be better and are ready to do something about it. You will learn practical ways to change organizational cultures and human behavior without buzzwords, without box ticking, without performative leadership. I am the boss of Prina Shah Consulting, working with executives, leaders, and teams to create work cultures and environments that actually work for people. I am Prina Shah. I specialize in organizational culture change and human behavior change. I am all about making work better with people who give a damn. So if you think I can help, contact me via LinkedIn. I am here to help you to find decent ways to change the workplace. Let's do this.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Ways to Change Your Workplace podcast with me, your host, Prina Shah. And it is a solo one today from me directly to you. Today, I want to talk to you about something that doesn't often get named in workplaces, but it is something that many of you feel, and I really frigging felt it too, and I still feel it sometimes. It is called intellectual loneliness. So I'm calling this episode The Quiet Cost of Intellectual Loneliness at Work. Now, intellectual loneliness. You may have seen the phrase appearing more frequently recently. I actually read it on Instagram and oh my God, so much of it related to me. So, this is a quote that I read from Instagram. Intellectual loneliness isn't just about wanting deep talks. It's about realizing how few people can tolerate complexity. It's noticing how quickly people rush to have an answer, not to understand, but to feel right. It's watching people form entire worldviews of headlines, of vibes, and whatever reels told them last. It's the silence that follows when you say something that doesn't fit neatly into someone's script. It's not arrogance. It is exhaustion from always having to code switch between what you actually think and what's safe to say around people who shut down at nuances. And no one warns you. Once your brain learns to stretch, small talk doesn't just bore you, it alienates you. You're not looking for smart people, you're looking for people who are still thinking. And if you're listening to this and think, oh my God, yes, then you are with me. I mean, I felt this within the workplace, but I felt it with family and with friends as well, right? It describes that strange experience when you realize that the conversation around you rarely go beyond surface level. Not because people are not capable, but because many environments simply do not allow deeper thinking to happen. And when that happens long enough, people start to feel alone in their thinking. Not socially alone, but intellectually alone. And I felt that. I don't know if you feel it too. Let me know actually. Get in touch with me. I want to know if you are feeling this. So intellectual loneliness is the sense that your intellectual passions, interests, and questions are not shared or fully understood by the people around you. It is the experience of wanting to explore ideas more deeply, but finding that there are very few people with whom you can have those kind of conversations. You might want to unpack a complex issue. You might want to ask why something works the way it does. You might want to challenge an assumption or explore it from a different perspective. But instead, the conversation moves quickly back to practical, the immediate, or the comfortable. So over time, something subtle begins to happen. You realize that very few people around you with whom you can have a stimulating conversation that stretches your thinking. Not debates about winning an argument per se, but conversations that genuinely explore ideas. The kind where someone builds on your thinking, where someone questions it, where someone expands it, or where someone even disagrees with it. Or they introduce a perspective that you hadn't considered before. Without those interactions, thinking can start to feel isolated. You may still have ideas, you may still be curious, but you do not always have the intellectual companionship that allows those ideas to evolve. And that is the essence of intellectual loneliness. It is not simply about being alone. It is about not having people around you who engage with your thinking in meaningful ways. Okay? So, what intellectual loneliness feels like is what I want to go into now. Intellectual loneliness shows up in really subtle ways. It is the meeting where someone raises a thoughtful question and the room quietly moves on because it just complicates the discussion. It is when complex issues are reduced to quick slogans or easy answers. It is when people want certainty more than curiosity. And you actually notice something else. People often rush to defend a position rather than explore an idea. The conversation then becomes about being right, not about understanding the thing itself. Over time, people who enjoy thinking deeply begin to pull back. They stop asking the bigger questions. They stop challenging assumptions. They stop offering the perspective that might slow the room down but improve the outcome. And that is where intellectual loneliness begins. Why it happens in workplaces is what I want to go into now. So most workplaces unintentionally create conditions for intellectual loneliness. Not because leaders want it, but because of the systems that they often create. Many organizations reward speed over thoughtfulness. They reward certainty over curiosity. They reward people who speak confidently, even when the idea hasn't been fully examined. And in those environments, nuance becomes uncomfortable. Complexity becomes inconvenient. People learn very quickly what is safe to say and what is not, so they adapt. They simplify their thinking. They shorten their contributions. They keep the deeper reflections to themselves. Not because they have stopped thinking, but because they have stopped believing that the room wants to hear it. I want to also talk about the role of artificial intelligence in intellectual loneliness. AI, let's go there. There's another dimension to this conversation that we cannot ignore, and that is the rise of artificial intelligence. AI is extraordinary. It can synthesize information, generate ideas, summarize research, and accelerate thinking in ways that we've never seen before. In many ways, it has become a powerful thinking partner. But here's the paradox. While AI can expand our thinking, it can also quietly deepen intellectual loneliness if we are not careful. Because when people can't find spaces to explore ideas with humans, they increasingly turn to technology instead. They ask AI questions. And let's remember, AI is based on often past knowledge, which is just dumped into the internet and the internet universe. So it's potentially not fresh or forward thinking. They'll test ideas, they'll explore concepts, and in many cases, people receive more thoughtful responses from a machine than they do from the people around them. Let's just think about that for a moment, okay? So when someone can have a deeper conversation with a tool than their colleagues, it tells us something about the environment that we've created. It's not a failure of technology. It is a sign about the quality of dialogue in our workplaces. AI can definitely help us to think faster in many ways, but it really cannot replace the richness of human thinking altogether. Real insight emerges from disagreement, from debate, from reflection, and the ability to challenge each other's assumptions. And I love when I do team development sessions or executive coaching. I have activities where I really get people to debate with each other in a real critical thinking way, but it's fun, it's novel, and it stays with people for years and years after. Those moments of tension and exploration are where most meaningful thinking happens. It's the real good conversations. And if workplaces don't create spaces for that, people will increasingly seek it elsewhere. Sometimes with AI, sometimes with the outside, another organization altogether. They might move on altogether. Or you bring in a facilitator such as me to facilitate the right kind of conversations that you may well not be having, okay? So the leadership challenge in the age of AI for you is not simply about learning how to use AI, it's learning how to protect and strengthen human thinking in the age of AI. Because the real risk is not what AI will replace in terms of human intelligence. The risk is that we might stop exercising our frigging human intelligence altogether. Leaders need to ask themselves an important question. Are we using AI to stimulate better thinking? Or are we allowing it to replace the conversations that lead to deeper understanding? The organizations that thrive in the future will not be the ones that simply adapt AI tools. They will be the ones that combine technology with strong cultures of curiosity, strong dialogue, and intellectual exploration, where people bring their thinking into the room, where ideas are challenged constructively, and where complexity is welcomed rather than avoided. Because the real advantage in the future will not be AI alone, it will be human intelligence working together with it. So the cost of intellectual loneliness is pretty big. It's bigger than we all realize, I have to tell you. When people stop bringing their thinking to work, organizations lose one of their most valuable resources: perspective, insight, challenge. That kind of thinking prevents groupthink. The kind of thinking that helps organization to avoid blind spots. And the irony is this: the same organizations that they say that they want curiosity and innovation often create environments where deeper thinking quietly disappears. Creativity requires people who are willing to ask uncomfortable questions. It requires people who are willing to explore complexity. But if the environment discourages that behavior, your people are going to simply stop offering it. So, you know I'm all about making work meaningful. What does meaningful work have to do with any of this? It links directly to something that I talk about in making work meaningful. Meaningful work is not about just your purpose statements or values on the wall. Meaningful work happens when people feel that their thinking matters, when they know that their perspective can shape decisions, when curiosity is welcomed and not rushed past. When someone can say, I actually see this differently, and the room leans in rather than shutting it down. Because when people feel that their thinking is valued, something really powerful happens. They engage more deeply, they contribute more honestly, and they feel a part of shaping something bigger than themselves. And that's where meaning starts to grow. So, what leaders can do. How can you reduce intellectual loneliness in the workplace is what I'm going to ask you first off. There are some important but powerful shifts that leaders can make. Number 1, reward curiosity. Instead of immediately asking for answers, ask better questions. What are we missing? What assumptions are we making here? What else could be true? The second is to slow conversations down. Not every decision needs to be rushed. Some of the most important insights come when people are given space and time to think. The third is to create psychological safety or trust for complex ideas to come to fruition. If people believe they will be dismissed or labeled as difficult for raising nuances, they're going to stop. But when leaders actively welcome diverse thinking, the tone of the room changes. People begin to speak more openly, and the quality of the discussion improves. So if you're alone, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. That's why you're listening to this podcast. Perhaps we've worked together. If we haven't yet, perhaps we'll work together in the future. I really freaking hope so. So, you need to find your intellectual community. There is another important part of this conversation. Sometimes intellectual loneliness is not just about your workplace. Sometimes it is about finding the right people to think with. Throughout my career, I have realized something really important. You don't need everyone around you to think in the same way, but you do need people who are willing to explore ideas with you, people who enjoy curiosity, people who are comfortable sitting with complexity, people who do not rush to close the conversation. Because meaningful thinking rarely happens in isolation. It grows through dialogue, through disagreement, through reflection, through the willingness to say, I hadn't thought about it this way. So a question for you. I want to leave you with this today. In your workplace, do people feel safe bringing their thinking to the table? Or are they quietly editing themselves to fit into the room? And if you're the leader, here is a deeper reflection question for you. Are you creating a culture where people feel intellectually energized? Or are they feeling intellectually alone? Because if we want workplaces where more people do meaningful work, we must create spaces where people can think freely, not just perform tasks, not just deliver outcomes, but genuinely contribute their honest perspective. If this episode resonated with you, let me know. Give me some feedback, because I want to hear from you. That's all from me, and I'm going to see you in the next episode. As always, keep asking the questions that help change the workplace for the better. Bye for now, compadre.
If you like this episode, check out the show notes and sign up to my newsletter. That will help your workplace to be less shitty. It's full of novel ideas, good food for thought. And if you like this episode, pass it on to at least 2 people who will benefit. That's your good deed done for the day. Also, remember to subscribe to the Ways to Change Your Workplace podcast via your podcast provider, and I will see you in the next episode.